Welcome to podcasts recorded live at the Center for Spiritual Living in Portland, Oregon. We have many programs, classes, and workshops developed just for our online audience. To find out more, go to our website at cslportland.org and look under the Online tab. Our mission is to open hearts, ignite minds, and make a difference. If you'd like to support our center and its video podcasts, you can donate online at cslportland.org/donate. Allow us to become part of your extended spiritual community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are most welcome at the Center for Spiritual Living.
beautiful. Thank you, Don, Ken, Jim. Thank you, thank you. Let's stand together. And if you need lyrics for Higher Place, Daniel Namod on the blue sheet in your bulletin.
Welcome to the Portland Center of Spiritual Living and to our celebration service where we are indeed raising ourselves and each other to a higher place. Welcome. We are a science of mind community that teaches spiritual principles to transform your life and make the world a better place. Absolutely, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whether you're in a sanctuary, home on your couch, Facebook live streaming, or watching the service afterwards, you are welcome here. All that we ask is that you stay open to the possibility of changing your entire life simply by changing your mind. My name is Catherine Richer. I serve as one of the licensed practitioners on the center's ecclesiastical team, and it is indeed my honor to welcome you today. If you are new to the center and joining us in person, there are welcome packets available on the table in the back of the sanctuary. It has information about who we are. Lovely picture of Reverend Larry, I must say. What we stand for and how we might serve you. And for our global audience, I invite you to find more about us on our website at cslportland.org. Under the About Us menu tab, you have a lot of information about who we are, and also details about the many and various activities at the center. Everyone can visit this website, and you can also sign up to receive email subscriptions. On the home page, you just go down, scroll down on the right-hand side. There's a space to sign up, and you have options, and you won't receive anything you didn't ask for. You have options of a weekly email listing of our events and services. We have a free program called 365 Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of the Science of Mind, and you'll receive a daily affirmation that he wrote sent directly to your email inbox. And Reverend Larry writes some reflective material on those themes. You can also enter your birthday to receive an e-card and a gift on your birthday. So lots of opportunities simply on the website. Highlighting a few announcements for you today. We are live for Sunday services at 11 a.m., and our services are also available later in the week on YouTube and via podcast. We have Wednesday night meditations, also on Zoom at 7 p.m. Everything that I'm saying is at Pacific time. We're here in the Northwest. This week, practitioner Kathy Batten is leading the meditation with the theme of self-love. I've been hearing that a lot lately, and listened to this morning a beautiful song about worthiness and singing it and speaking it out loud, and what a beautiful form of self-love that is. Friday, you can have lunch with Reverend Larry. Well, virtually, that is. And that is time for some conversation and asking questions and getting to know each other better and reflecting about the Sunday message and whatever else comes up. And he's a great gardener, so maybe you can ask him gardening questions. We also have online Zoom groups for our online Zoom groups for Social Justice Book Club and the 12-step program for women. These are both facilitated by our licensed practitioner, Nancy Ashley. This week, believe it or not already, starts the Easter season. And this year we have an online meditative service on Good Friday, which is this coming Friday, April the 15th at 7 o'clock. Again, this is virtual, so you'll be Zooming. And then next Sunday, a week from today, we will have a special service and ceremony for Easter here in the sanctuary in the usual format of Facebook Live, and then you'll be able to view it afterwards as well. There's more information about that on our website. I'd like you to mark your calendar for Sunday, April 24th. After our service, there's an annual business meeting where we will vote on board candidates. We will also present a full financial report and program update. We'll have that both in person as well as Zoom teleconferencing. So you can choose whatever is most comfortable for any of the events that are live. They are also available virtually. We have a lot of spring classes to pep you up again as spring comes out, refresh your spirit. Lots of workshops, and I'd like to invite Reverend Larry to talk about those for us.
Well, I'm certainly pepped up about them. Do check online. You can register and read about all of them. I do want to feature just a couple of them. You'll probably notice that this month we're featuring in our regular Sunday talks the idea of peace and nonviolence. We're using Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s book, Strength to Love. And to go along with that, really to deepen us in that, licensed practitioner Nancy Ashley and Kate Barrett are offering a workshop, a half-day workshop called The Beloved Community. So it's the end of the month on April 30th. It's Saturday from 1 to 4. And you'll really learn the principles of peace and nonviolence. But more than that, because my guess is the people who tend to hang out here already have a sense of what the principles of peace and nonviolence are. This workshop will help you to actually apply them into your daily lives. And so a very hands-on approach to this idea of resolving conflict nonviolently, and how to even just speak with a greater degree of unity and affirmation when you're dealing with issues. And, the modern world is filled with divisive issues right now. And this will give you the vocabulary and the way of thinking about that, where you'll make some progress in your own life and uplift the people around you. So it's called The Beloved Community. Again, April 30th, 1 to 4 p.m. And then the other one that I wanted to highlight a little bit, I think stepping out of our comfort zone requires some courage. And for my own part, where we tend to be stuck is we get right up to the edge of our comfort zone, wanting to try something new, wanting to be something new, wanting to stand for something in a more meaningful way. And then what pushes us back? The fear of being an outlier, the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of perhaps being regarded by our loved ones as kooky or strange. And so we've been doing this technique that was originally developed by Marcia Sutton, Reverend Dr. Marcia Sutton and Lloyd Strom, called Fear to Faith. Reverend Marilyn had her first workshop on it just this last week, a tremendous response from that. And I want to invite you to, there's 2 more sessions of it. One of them is the first part of May, May 3rd, on a Tuesday morning. Kate Barrett is going to be facilitating that one, still sign-ups available. And then at the end of May, May 29th, I will be doing it on an after celebration service workshop upstairs here. So you can just linger after that. We do want you, though, to actually register for these. And the idea of Fear to Faith is, how can we push through that stuckness? How can we actually look at and address what is keeping us from being more of who we can be? What's stopping us, number one? And then really marshaling our interior forces for then moving through that in a gentle and yet determined way. And I think it has the possibility of really turning around some of our lives. And so I highly recommend that. Again, you have your choices. There's a Tuesday morning workshop at the first part of May, and then I'll be doing it as a after service Sunday workshop at the end of May. I encourage you to sign up. Of course, we do have more educational offerings as well, but those are the ones I wanted to highlight today. I think some real traction can be made in your spiritual lives by these particular ones. So thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Larry. I've been noticing how we don't have to do the 6-foot dance up here anymore and in a sanctuary. And it's kind of nice. And also it is that relearning how to be close again. So I think that this timing of your class is really quite perfect. Obviously, it's physical and emotional, spiritual, all the way. Speaking of Reverend Larry, he provided our flowers today, which are white lilacs. Right from the yard. I told you he was a gardener, so thank you. Very beautiful. Today, we are super blessed to have music provided by Arietta Ward. Thank you so much for being here. And backed up, of course, by our wonderful Friends Band. Today's message is The Good Samaritan by Reverend Larry King. So I invite you to sit back and relax, to open your hearts, because I know that somewhere between the music, the meditation, and the message, exactly what your soul came to receive.
Settling in and closing our eyes. Deeply breathing. Soft belly. God is, I am right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am.
right here and right now. I am so very grateful to know that we are indeed seated in the lap of a loving, infinite universe. A universe that is universe. One song, one. One power, one presence, one infinite intelligence and wisdom. It is the power back of everything. It is the presence within everything, the life force, the energy, the wave, the frequency. It is all that there is. It is the perfect pattern of all of life. The artist and the art, the architecture and the architect. It is everything that there is. Always, everywhere, all of the time. There is no speck in creation where it is not. All present, all powerful. From the tiniest grain of sand to the trillions of stars, billions of galaxies. Our own Milky Way home, our beautiful sun, life-giving, life-breathing sun, precious earth, all of its creatures, and me, and everyone. We are all stars wrapped in skin. We are each individualized, perfect, beautiful, whole, complete, radiant expressions of life itself, of source, of that one that is all that there is, that lives and breathes us, beats our hearts without us even thinking about it. And yet when we tune in, we know that this is the truth of who we are. And in that knowing, I speak my word for and about everyone here, everyone within the sound of my voice, affirming such a deep, unfettered love that no condition blocks it, that we are willing to begin within to resolve our inner wars with self-compassion and with love. And as we grow in that self-compassion and love, we are able to see everyone in that love and hold compassion for them, knowing there is no enemy, for there is only one of us. And the more we recognize that, the more we realize that and live it and breathe it and show it, the more it shows up in everyone, in every situation, everywhere. Love is everywhere, calling to be brought forth as we open our arms to embrace it fully with compassionate that knows no bounds. I am so grateful to know the truth of love. And in that gratitude, I release my word into the cosmic womb of infinite love and potential, that place of loving law that always says, yes, my beloved, and you are my beloved. It is indeed yours as you believe in your heart. I simply let it be, and I allow it to be. And together we say, and so it is. So it is.
Good morning. I didn't want to break that wonderful peace. I haven't had that in a long, long time. And it just was, everything was just, you can just be. It's important. So I probably stayed a little bit longer in my seat than I needed to. But this is a beautiful song. Hey, how did you get up here? Hey. Anyway, it speaks to just being there for yourself, being there for someone else. You know, it's important to know that you have someone that will stand. So this is a song that it's new to me, and I'm going to sing it. It's very catchy. And I'm sure you'll be singing it by the end of it. Okay, I'm ready now. I will stand by you, I will stand by you, I will stand. I will stand by you, I will stand by you, I will stand. I will stand by you, I will stand by you, I will stand. I will stand by you, I will stand by you, I will stand. I will stand by you when you need a friend. I will stand by you. Won't you let me in? I will stand by you every night and day. I will stand by you all the way. Yes, I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand. I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand. I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand. I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand. I will stand by you. I will hold your hand. I will stand by you and understand. I will stand by you if you need me to. I will stand by you. Let me see you through. When you're all alone, it's like the world is closing in. Well, I can promise you, you'll always have a friend. I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand. I will stand by you. Yeah, yeah. I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand. Whenever you need a friend, I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand. I will stand by you at all times. I will stand by you. Stand by you. You just need to let me in and know that I will stand by you. Stand by you. Stand. I will stand by you. I will stand by you. I will stand by you. Yeah. Whenever you need me, yes, I will stand by you. Thank you.
Arietta Ward, a new song for you. It sounded like it was written for you. Thanks for being here today. Welcome, everyone. So glad you're joining us today. So we already tipped you off. We're using Strength to Love, a collection of sermons written by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Last week, Reverend Marilyn explained, this book of sermons, these sermons were actually given during that extended bus strike that is so very famous in our in our history taking place in Alabama. Literally, some of these sermons were written while Dr. King was in jail in Alabama because of that bus strike. Very poignant. If you ever have a chance, I think this is the 60th anniversary of when this was first published. And so a lovely book. Really, everybody should probably have this book because it speaks not only to the condition of what African Americans were going through in the 50s, and I would argue still going through 60 years later, but it also speaks to the larger issues that we have facing us right now of war, of disenfranchisement for people of poverty, of, really anyone that isn't right in what we would consider the mainstream right now is struggling. And so a book certainly of our times as well as of the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s. So today I'm going to cover one of his perhaps most famous sermons, and it relies on, I think this is so interesting. In his church, all he had to say was the parable of the Good Samaritan, and everybody could probably have recited it to him, right? Today, I think I have to actually read the parable of the Good Samaritan to you all. We'll call it a refresher, but it wouldn't surprise me if some people don't even really know that parable. So this is from the New Testament, Luke 10:25. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to attain eternal life?" "Well, what is written in the law?" Jesus replied. "How do you read it?" He answered, "Love your Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," replied Jesus. "Do this, and you will have eternal life." But the person representing the law wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And exactly who are my neighbors?" In reply, Jesus gave this parable. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving the man half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by as well. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw them, he took pity on him. He went to him, bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense that you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go, and thou do as likewise." Well, of course, 2,000 years later, some of these terms and ideas maybe we need to explain. And as you know, when we do a metaphysical interpretation of especially the parables, there's several levels of meaning here. But first, I think we need to talk just a little bit about the literal meaning of this, because some of the terms aren't familiar. First of all, the expert in Jewish law, law here means Jewish law. And so when he was asked, well, what does the law mean to you? He was reading from the Old Testament, which would have been very familiar to everyone in his audience. And so when he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself, that is the primary Jewish commandment that's recognized. That is Jewish law for how we're to treat one another. But the idea of this being on the road to Jericho would have had a special meaning for people too. Any of you who have actually visited the Holy Land recognize that Jericho and Jerusalem are only 15 miles apart, but you descend 3,200 feet to get there. So you start off on the high, the height, And it's a torturous, windy road to make your way down to Jericho. And what we know in terms of a metaphysical meaning here is that you're going from the heights of your thoughtfulness, you're going from your spiritual nature, descending the tortuous path into living your life. And so really this is a metaphor for us as we live our lives. Our intentions for good, our intentions for love, our intentions for being our best, those are on top of the mountain. And unfortunately, then we have to descend into the real world through all of its troubles, through all of the what do I want to call it? Through all the mess that we see around us. And how do we then implement those good intentions? Well, the parable, of course, is about someone who fell in the midst of robbers. And what is being robbed from us? Our very desires, our very goals, that which is important to us. So often in this human experience, they seem to be taken away from us. Circumstances seem to pull the very life out of us. And what do we have to depend upon? Now you might wonder, well, who are these priests? Who are these Levites? These, in theory, were tribes of the person left behind, left for dead. So the priest would have been a high temple priest from Jerusalem on that same journey who chose just to walk by. The Levite, another one of the tribes of Abraham, should have been there to help this poor fellow. They were a part of his community. And so again, the parable is saying, there are times when we cannot even count on the people who should stick up for us. Even the very people, even our family members may not always be there for us. There may be circumstances beyond our control, but nonetheless, we have to be able to rely even on strangers. And there is the promise in this parable, I think, too, that we will be helped, that there will be people along the way if we're willing to accept the help, if we're willing to accept the hand that is outstretched, that there can be that resurrection. There can be that idea of new life. There can be that idea even of regaining what has been lost to us. Now, of course, there's the other side of the parable as well. The parable is largely told from the point of view of the person who has lost their way, who has been robbed, left for dead. But equally, the story, when we examine it metaphysically, right, is of that of the Good Samaritan. Samaritan, interestingly enough, at that particular time were not friends to the Jewish people. They had been in armed conflict for many years, right? And so the thought that a Samaritan would stop, an actual enemy would stop out of the goodness of his heart, and as we read further in the parable, out of the goodness of his own peril and pocketbook. This would have actually astounded Jesus' listeners, right? It would have been as though I told a story of, a modern day heretic coming to the aid of someone. Do you know what I mean? It would have been perceived as, oh my gosh, listen to this story. He's talking about someone who is well hated coming to the aid of someone when no one else would. So we've kind of interpreted both the literal meaning and the metaphysical meaning here. I want to embellish this, maybe put a little bit of a twist in it by talking about Dr. King's interpretation in his famous sermon here, because he talked about the Samaritan in a little bit different way, and I think he encourages us to view ourselves as that Samaritan. First of all, he talks about the idea of 3 levels of compassion: universal compassion, dangerous compassion, and excessive compassion. And I want to spend just a minute talking about those. But I think where I want to start is with universal compassion, and I'll use my joke to illustrate. So an older man approached a younger woman at a shopping mall. "Excuse me, I can't seem to find my wife. Can I talk to you for a few minutes? Well, the woman, feeling deep compassion for this lost old fellow, said, Of course, sir. Let's sit down until we find her. Do you remember where you last saw her? Do you know where your wife might be? Well, I have no idea, but, in my experience, if I sit down to converse with a kind younger woman, she'll seem to pop out of nowhere. And so the first level of compassion that Dr. King talks about is that kind of compassion. Are you willing just to sit down with a stranger who's lost? Do you take the time, the basic human kindness, to deal with people as you encounter them day to day? Are you willing just to notice around you people that could use a little extra help? Are you one to carry a bag of apples so that when someone's hungry, you can provide one? If you were the one that saw the lost elderly man in the mall, would you be willing just to check in with him? Are you doing okay? Do you need some help? When you notice an accident and no police cars and no one for help, do you call 911 just to make sure that it has been reported already? These are the simple kindnesses, the universal kindnesses that Dr. King says really separates us in our humanness in a way that implies complete unity, that we're able to say, there but for the grace of God go I recognize it in someone, and I will be there for them. Now, this one is the simplest of all. He calls it the basic compassion. He says we're all up for it, and I think we are all up for it. Some days we're maybe too busy. Some days we maybe overlook some of the opportunities for us to show that level of kindness, that level of compassion. But I would think that everyone here has that basic level of compassion in them. So let's move on. The second one he talks about is dangerous compassion. And he actually uses the parable again by saying, the Good Samaritan was at some risk in doing this. The road to Jericho was perilous. One of the thoughts around the priest and the Levite moving on was, well, what if this is a scam? What if the person lying by the road as I'm bending over to check on him might be a robber himself? Sometimes there is some actual danger involved in reaching out to help people. Will it be misunderstood? Will I get in trouble for it? I remember something that my stepfather once told me that I had to actually think about for a minute. He had an idea that every good deed might be punished. Have you ever heard that old statement, no good deed goes unpunished? I think that's a real thing. I think that for some of us, we're actually afraid to help one another lest something happens, lest they take advantage of it, lest we're overextended in some way, lest the people around us might bring shame unto us. And Martin Luther King said, so what? If we are not willing to risk some of ourselves to come to the aid of a stranger even, then there's not much here. There's not much personal merit. We're about risk-taking for one another. And he encouraged that. He used the parable of the Good Samaritan. He also pointed out some of the people that literally risked their lives in that extended bus situation in Alabama that he went through. People were willing to be sent to jail. People were willing to be hosed down by the police. There were some terrible brutalities that took place during that time just to win the right for whites and blacks to be on the same bus together. Are we willing to take risks for what we believe in? Now, here comes the challenging part, right? He's really challenging us not only to stand for things, but also to take a risk for things. And he specifically uses the idea of those of us who are willing to write a check versus those who are willing to make an investment from the heart. Now, I think most of us have probably had an opportunity, whether it's the war in Ukraine, whether it's the civil rights movement here in America that still goes on, whether it's some other injustice that we see here in America or our world. I know many of us has written a check. Many of us has said, this is important to me. I want to stand for this. The least I can do is to write a check in service to this group of people. And Dr. King would say, that's wonderful, and he would say, and what are we actually willing to risk? How can we not only put our money where our mouth is, but put our actions where our mouth is? The third thing that he challenges us on, which I love, is what he calls excessive compassion. Now, you might say, well, how can compassion be excessive? And he goes on again with the parable. He says, really, the man brought him on his own donkey, took him to an inn, and paid for him to be there. And Dr. King says this may be excessive, and yet, is it not indicative of desiring the complete healing? So often, I think that when we do try to help people, we do this sort of quick fix. We kind of want that idea of one and done. Here's the handout, but I'm not going to address the real problem, perhaps. And don't get me wrong, absolutely don't get me wrong. When someone needs a meal, when someone needs a ride to the doctor, when someone needs to make the call to 911, please do not think in any way that that is less than perfect, because that is exactly what needs to be done. You have the power to bring that level of attention to bear in a crisis. Please, please, please follow those human instincts to do what's necessary. But what Dr. King is saying is, why is the road to Jericho so dangerous? Why do we still have troubles between the races here in America? Why are we having a war between Ukraine and Russia? It is right and proper to come to the aid of people in the midst of crisis, but what are we to do about the crisis itself? This is the excessive level of compassion that he's really talking about. What do we need to do to make the road to Jericho safe for all? What do we need to do to make sure that there cannot be another war? What are we going to do not just to help a homeless person here in the Portland area with a meal? What are we going to do to promote the idea of ending homelessness? I know you're all looking at me like, please, Larry, tell me the answer, right? And I wish I could. The trouble with the idea of what Dr. King calls excessive compassion is that there aren't easy answers. Having a bag of apples in your car isn't quite enough. Being able to call 911 when you see one having an emergency is sufficient in the moment, but it isn't going to pull us through the long haul. This requires that excessive level of compassion where we actually become involved in the issues that are important to us. Writing a check, absolutely, but also taking part in citizen action committees, making sure that our votes count, doing what's necessary to make sure personally that the graffiti in our neighborhoods gets painted over, helping neighbors to secure their properties in ways that are safe for everyone, doing what's necessary at a local, at a civic-wide, and at a country-wide, and even at a planet-wide way to make sure that the road to Jericho can be safe. So I do have a bit of homework for you today. And I don't think it'll be as terrible as some of my homeworks are. I hope not. You'll be the judge. I'd like you to examine some of the world events right now. Just pick one of the upsetting events that are going on in the world right now. It might be racism. It might be the war in Ukraine. It might be the issue of homelessness here in the Portland area. Pick some of the world events that are going on right now. How can you show your compassion for the people who are currently being robbed on the road to Jericho? And think of it in terms of the 3 levels of compassion that Dr. King talks about. Universal compassion, putting yourself in their position. What would I do just as a human being? The idea of dangerous compassion, like what can I give of myself beyond just money? How can I perhaps put myself on the edge in a way that will make a difference? And then the third one, excessive compassion. What can I do to get at the root cause of what's going on? So again, homework, examine one of the world's events that's bothering you right now. How can you show your compassion for people who are being robbed on the road to Jericho? I want to close from a beautiful quote from this particular sermon that he gave. He says, "More than ever before, my friends, people of all races and nations are today challenged to be neighborly. The call for a worldwide good neighbor policy is more than ephemeral. It is the call to a way of life that will transform our imminent cosmic elegy into a psalm of creative fulfillment. No longer can we afford the luxury of passing by on the other side. Such folly was once called moral failure. Today it will lead to universal suicide. We cannot long survive spiritually separated in a world that is geographically brought together. In the final analysis, I must not ignore the wounded man on life's Jericho road, because he is a part of me, and I am a part of him, and his agony diminishes me, and his salvation is what will save me. Let us pray. There is one power, one presence, one life, one goodness, one universal love and compassion. And I fall upon it on this day. I take it up in my own heart and allow my own heart to become enlarged, large enough to work miracles on the road to Jericho. And as it is true for me, I know it is true for each person within the hearing of my voice. Each of us has that capacity for extending a hand in compassion, in love to our fellow human beings. Each of us has the capacity to not only write checks, but to give of themselves in a more personal way, to perhaps even dangerously give of ourselves in a way that can make all the difference. For this, I give great thanks. For this, I simply recognize the love for each one of us, for the other, as we are unified in the Spirit of God. I release this prayer, I let it be, and together we say, and so it is. Thank you so much for being here today. So happy to have you here. Now is our time of conscious giving. I invite you to take your gift in your hand. You can place it over your heart if you like. Those of you who are watching us online, you can go to our website at cslportland.org/donate to make a contribution. If you'd like, just repeat after me. Graciously I give. Graciously I give. From a place of love. Knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. Would the ushers please begin receiving the gifts?
We'll do our prosperity chant. It's a practitioner Marcy Beck song. More than enough, more than enough. More than enough, more than enough, more, much more.
much more, more than enough, 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 more, much more, more than enough, more, much more, more than enough. I'm back. A beautiful song by Eddie Watkins Jr. And yes, it speaks to what Reverend Larry said, and yes, I'm going to sing now. We are creating a world that works for everyone. Yes, we're amazing, and we've just begun to feel the power and freedom to be who we came here to be, as we discover each other, celebrate humanity. We are creating a world that works for everyone. Yes, times are changing. It's a love revolution as we are walking together. Love is leading the way through the fields of compassion to a world that works for everyone. To a world that works for everyone. As we are walking together,
Thank you so much for being with us this week. Yeah, come on up. Let me bless the offering here. On behalf of the Portland Center for Spiritual Living, I receive these gifts with great love. I know that our vision of a world that works for everyone, our mission of personal empowerment, I know that as we pay our bills, as we make gifts to other nonprofits, this circle of love expands. I'm grateful for this. I let it be, and so it is. Before we close, just a quick reminder about prayer requests. It is our great honor to provide this as a service to you, whether you're here in the sanctuary or online. If you're here in person, on the back table there by Kathy Batten, one of our licensed practitioners, she's holding up a prayer request card. Just fill one of those out, and it's our honor to pray for you throughout the week. We offer the same service to folks online. At the bottom of all of our web pages is a little link that says prayer request. Just click on that and fill it out. Through the magic of the internet, somehow it gets emailed out to every one of our licensed practitioners. And so again, we can pray for you throughout the week. I also want to point out we have a new coffee service available. That door there to the Open My Bookstore will be open shortly, and you're invited for coffee and conversation after the service if you'd like to linger a bit. But for now, I think we should stand and we'll do our benediction. I invite you, if you like, to just repeat after me. Something wonderful is flowing through me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my body. Life is in my affairs. Life is in my heart. Life is good. Please let me know if at any time during the day or night, if forgetfulness should creep upon you, go within. On that altar of the Most High, recognize that you are loved. In gratitude for this, I let it be. And together we say, and so it is.
And we'll close with blessed always.
If you happen to be in the Portland, Oregon area, we'd love to have you visit in person. The Portland Center for Spiritual Living is located at 6211 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We have inspirational services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. every Sunday. We also have many programs, classes, and workshops developed just for our online audience. To find out more, go to our website at cslportland.org and look under the Online tab. We have a variety of content dedicated specifically for our online listeners. Our mission is to open hearts, ignite minds, and make a difference. If you'd like to support our center, you can donate online at cslportland.org/donate. Our website is also the place to learn more about what's going on at the center or to contact us. Allow us to become part of your extended spiritual community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are most welcome at the Center for Spiritual Living.